Hello, welcome to Tottenham Hotspur's Come On You Spurs TV. I said Tottenham Hotspur for a reason because I know there was this little bit of furore a few days ago, a few weeks ago when Tottenham released a statement saying we're Tottenham Hotspur, not Tottenham. So, welcome to Come On You Spurs TV, where we talk about everything Tottenham Hotspur. With me, I've got Chuma. Chuma, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I think it's Common You Tottenham Hotspur TV now. Probably no Common You Spurs. Common You Tottenham Hotspur TV. Welcome. I know it's great. It's great to be here.
Yeah. Listen, we've been listen, we haven't been as consistent as we would love to be, and we've been doing a bit of a Tottenham this season, if you like. But we're back to a reset, like the Ange reset we noticed in the last few games. I mean, of course, we'd like to hear what you think and all that sort of thing. But Chuma, you haven't done this. What's that thing called? We call it the welcome everyone.
Oh, of
You know,
course, of course, of course.
you know.
This is what happens when your team hasn't won in a while and you start winning or drawing games. You completely lose reality.
Oh man.
Welcome to Common You Spurs TV. If this is your first time on the channel, welcome. We'd like to ask you to subscribe, like, comment, share, click on the notification bell to get notified every time we release new content. But most especially, we'd like to really hear from you. Like, comment, tell us what you like, what you've seen this season. It's been a yo-yo season for Tottenham. We've been in the lower half of the table for the first time in probably over a decade. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think this Ange reset is on with the players coming back from injury? The end of the season. Welcome all your comments and come on, you Spurs.
Right. Thank you so much. Like Chuma said, I mean, it's like we're going through a bit of a, I don't want to call it a transition season, but everyone knows that this season has not been ideal in many respects, and of course we've had, I mean, games where things haven't gone so well, where at the bottom half of the table, chances of qualifying for Europe seem so remote or even impossible this season, and there's a lot of discontent among the Spurs faithful. Now, I'm not sure if that is across the board, but we live in an age where social media drives a lot of things. So you get plenty of Ange in, Ange out, Levi in, Levi out, points of view, and it's almost like a civil war out there. I mean, people who sort of take positions and sort of want to take those positions become headline and almost very difficult to shift in their perspectives. But at the end of the day, we're Tottenham Hotspur fans, and for me, I'm not sure where all the negativity comes from, or maybe because we live in the social media age, a lot of the views that you wouldn't have heard being put out there in the past or before social media became thin. I mean, now it's like standard fare for and people just take that liberty for license to hurl abuse at the coach, at the players, at the team, at the board, and for me it seems like this when you go on a negative spiral, you tend to get this notion that almost like as if the players, the coach, the board don't have any ambition to do anything or to want to win, and that cannot be true under any circumstances, And like I always say, I'm not sure we have a right to win. I'm not saying we shouldn't have a winning mentality, but you're competing in a team sport where the other teams as well are doing who also are doing well. I mean, classic example, if we let's look at motorsport for instance, right? For many years, Hamilton, dominated. That was his era, if you like. Now Verstappen is now dominating. Now this season it looks like it's going to be McLaren. Now, are you saying that Ferrari didn't dominate for years? In ages past when you had Michael Schumacher. So you have teams, and the day when you had Schumacher, you had Senna, you had all those other people as well, who maybe won now and again, but it's like every team was competing and trying to be their best at what they were doing, right? And you're still engineers, you're still coaches, and the same thing happens in football, you know. But I get this constant niggling at when teams go bad. When we do well, I don't hear the praise. When we do badly, it's like, oh yeah, that's the reason to sack the coach, or that's the reason that Ange isn't doing well. He doesn't know what he's doing. If calling all sorts of names, he's overweight and all that stuff. I think it was why would you, Spurs fan, launch such a tirade against your own team? I'm not saying that we shouldn't express discontent. Descend into abuse and just not on. I don't know if you share that sort of view as well. I'm just sorry for the rant this morning, guys. But I'd love to hear from you guys. What you think? You don't have to agree with me, but that's my perspective. I just thought I'd share that with you guys. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Optimus himself. This is the most positive person in Spurs. But no. You're very right. I think there's a psychological study that says people tend to imagine more negative things far easier than imagining positive. You really have to train yourself to focus on positive things. It's easy to think negative. It's easy to expect the negative, and I think for a lot of Tottenham Hotspur fans, and I think somewhere along the line, social media has made it even. What's the word now? What's the word? I think it's catalysis, where yeah, it's catalyzed the thing where they're now like it feeds negativity, and especially when you're on a losing streak or something's happening. But I watched something the other day. There's that podcast forum that Gary Neville, Jamie Carragher and them have. Not the same one with Roy Keane. There's one where they actually have fans as well.
All right, okay.
And Postcodes is on that one more. And there's a young lady that is really, really, she talks about football a lot and she's really, really smart. And she said something about Tottenham and she said something about Tottenham Hotspur fans. She says she doesn't understand why there's no patience with Ange Postecoglou, because if you go by what they've done, when Spurs have had faith in a manager for an extended period of time, they actually do well. Pochettino, before that, Redknapp, you give them time, at least more than 3 seasons. She said, but she can't help but feel that one of the reasons why Spurs fans are very impatient, they are very volatile at the moment, is because Spurs are charging a premium for a ticket. So the fans feel we've moved to a big stadium where we're generating funds. They, of course, don't want to know about the payback of the loans and all that stuff. They just see this is how much we're making. Then you have social media again feeding you all this information. As a fan, so you've been a fan for years now. As a fan, did you ever know anything about the wage bill in like 1990? When you were watching Spurs in 1990, do you know anything about the wage bill? Do you know anything about anything to do with revenue return, the revenue to wages ratio? You had no idea. You were just a fan. But social media has brought all these different facets, even when people don't understand them. In fact, let me parallel this. My mom lives in Nigeria, and there was a certain period when the dollar rose, the exchange rate for the dollar increased. And my mom went to the market to buy something. And there was this market woman who is illiterate, never been to school, doesn't know how to read or write. And she told my mom the price of them. My mom said, price has gone up. The woman said, Auntie, it's because the dollar has risen. Meanwhile, she knows nothing about that, but she's heard that. But see how she has added that into her life now, that the reason prices are up is because the dollar has increased. So Spurs fans feel, this hasn't happened. Yet we are paying a premium for tickets. We have the best training ground. So therefore, it equals the fact that, and I like your Formula One analogy, because I've seen a situation where Michael Schumacher won the F1 championship 2 years in a row with Benetton. And he ends up jumping ship to Ferrari. And then a driver called Gerhard Berger took over his seat at Benetton. And he said, don't change the car. I want to drive what that boy drove. And as much as Berger tried in practice sessions, he couldn't even come close to a second of Schumacher's best times. Who told you there was more to the secret sauce than the car? But people think, well, oh no, you have to have the car. We have the stadium. We have the revenue. But there are loads of things that have gone wrong this particular season. And the fans, like I said, I feel for them, because there are so many influences. There's so many people in your ear, opposition fans, your own fans as well. to the point where you're wishing Tottenham would lose so the manager would get sacked. These are things that, 15 years ago you would never imagine would be such a huge, but it's the advent of social media. It's unbelievable, but it's no coincidence that Spurs' performances have improved with the return of Van de Ven, Vicario, Romero. You're seeing players coming back into view. I mean, people didn't understand how good Dominic Solanke was, but you've seen it in these last couple of games. His hold-up play, he had 2 assists in that game. I mean, it tells you everything that has to do with his own game. He scored 11 goals, but I think altogether his goal contributions have been more than 15 or 16. Spurs have 5 players with more than 15 GA this season, which is amazing. But when you break it into bits and pieces, the fans now go, well, we're not doing as well as we expected to do. The transition season should always be the first season, but for whatever reason, we have it the other way around. So maybe instead of saying I win in my second season, maybe the win is coming in the third season. But the second season isn't over, and we're still in the Europa League. So fingers crossed for Ange for that. But it is what it is.
I'm glad you brought that up. I'm glad you brought that up. Second season narrative up, and I'm a big fan of Ange without a doubt, right? But I'm also a big fan of fans supporting their manager. I'm not saying blindly. I'm not saying don't criticize. I'm not saying don't pass judgment on what you consider to be a poor performance. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that you don't hurl abuse at people because things don't go as well as you want them to go. I've watched a lot of Tottenham games. I've practically watched all the games they played this season. Home and away. And I mean, at the first part of the season, when we lost a few matches, right? I noticed that the vast majority of those losses were very marginal. Maybe an own goal somewhere, a defensive error. Hardly in any of those cases have I seen it as a result of what I call abysmal play. In most cases, it's usually one mistake or one error that led to a lot of the goals that we considered in the early part of the season. Of course, then we started having those injuries. Of course, things kind of went a little bit downhill in that respect. There are some people who hold the view that in spite of that challenge, that Ange maybe should have changed his style of play to suit the player he had with him at the time, or B, that he should have been able to manage the squad in such a way to ensure that he didn't find himself in that position of always losing matches. But he said something, which is one of the things I admire Ange about. It's very blunt and straight to the point. He said, look, hindsight is a wonderful thing. You can come back and tell me that, this thing should have gone that way, that thing should have gone that way, because and it's a classic example. You see how people telling you today that Pochettino should not have played Harry Kane in that final because Moura scored. No, this is the kind of thing that fans come up with. Say, he should have played Lucas Moura because he scored a hat-trick as a reward, But these are the calls managers have to make. Sometimes they get it right, sometimes they get it wrong. They're human, and no one has that magic crystal ball that tells you that this is what should have happened. If it happened in a way that we won that match, it would have been, an absolute legend, crackpots, tactician and that sort of thing, right? But it didn't happen. Suddenly he's a nutter. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He's just, and people.
But so just so I forgot, we reverse that now, which has always been my argument. Had Lucas Moura played that game and been completely marked out and Spurs lost by a greater margin,
exactly, the same fans would
come would have said, you play your best player, Harry Kane, and take him off.
This is it. So it's you could never win. And I think in a way, you kind of, on our forum, in my view, you kind of succumb to that sort of what I call
let's have two evils.
No, you kind of succumb to that, what I call managers' criticism. I'm not saying you shouldn't criticize a manager or sort of say, okay, it's selection. Maybe you shouldn't have played that person. You shouldn't have played that person. When you were talking about Bissouma, I can't remember who he played the double pivot. He played.
No. He played Bissouma for the game against Brentford. He played Bissouma.
Talk about the game against Bournemouth. He played. He played Sarr, Bentancur, and Bergvall, right?
And Bissouma, 3 of the same type. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now, again, that's his call. He had to make that call because okay, fine, they had a fast break type of thing. You know, he was probably trying to say, look, I don't want us to go down early in the match and that sort of thing. And who knows? I mean, I don't know what he was thinking, but he did make the changes when the game kind of went away from him, and those changes proved effective in the end, right? And we could have also nicked it as well, you know. But again, it's easy for us as pundits, as armchair podcasters like we are, you know, social media hacks or tacticals, if you want to call them that, you know, who don't have FIFA badges or, or coaching badges to their name, who actually don't see these guys play on a regular basis. But I'm not saying that in a critical way. I'm just saying that look, the managers always want to get the best out of the team, right? Sometimes they make mistakes, sometimes they make it. I mean, they don't get it right, and a lot of times, you know, if you get it right, fantastic, you know. And he was saying that look, being how did he put it? Now he put it like said the most successful man is Mr. Hindsight because with the hindsight you can tell everything will go very well, you know. So
no, facts.
yeah, so that's just what I think we us fans are up against. I mean, or you know, that's the world we live in now, and sort of the reality that we have to face. However, I was going to say to this, right, Schumann, Tottenham seem to have, you know, ridden that wave of negativity maybe in the last, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 games, you know, maybe barring I think who did we lose to in between after the Brentford match? I'm not sure who we lost to. I think it was City. Yeah, we lost to City, right?
Yeah, we lost to City. That's all.
Okay, and then we drew with Brighton, and then all hell came loose again. Like, look, Brighton. I mean, sorry, not Brighton, Bournemouth rather. And you know, yeah, they could have scored more goals and all sorts of things. Right? But listen, in matches there are gonna be chances, right? No team comes to come and sell granite. It's an expression we use in Nigeria. Like no team come to play. They come to play win as well. So let's cut our team some slack and say, look, there will be errors in the match. As long as they don't lead to goals, that's fine. But the key is that we want to win our matches. And so we seem to be turning the corner, if you like. I mean, we lost to AZ Alkmaar away. And everyone was saying, oh, AZ Alkmaar, we should have beaten them, played very poorly. And of course, the team acknowledged that we didn't perform as well as we could have. Which does happen, you know. But I mean, the tie, it's not a one-off match. So obviously, and then we came home and did the business. And even if you look at those matches, right, both matches, all of the goals that those guys scored were as a result of errors. You know, it was almost like gifts to them. But they would point out, they said, yeah, the game was a gift as well. You know, in terms of the goal that Odegaard scored in the first half. But the reason we got that gift, in my view, was because we were pressing high, right?
Press them high.
Force them into making a mistake. And that's a tactic in itself, to press and force the other team to make a mistake. So it wasn't like, oh, they just made a mistake because they were just silly. They made a mistake based on the activity of our players, put them in that position in the first place. And Odegaard still had plenty of work to do. Sholan still had plenty of work to do. He got tried to shoot and miss, you know, and people have been known to miss from even those sort of positions in the past. So if you don't take the chances, that's the nature of the game. But we should, I don't know, that's me. I can't teach people how to think, you know.
No, you're right in the sense that I was disappointed in that selection because I said what works for Ange or what has worked in the past for Ange is having two players that can run and do the work and one creative. When I looked at that midfield, I said, where is the creativity going to come from? It's not anywhere. And it's not a game where we have to be solid. Now, if you had that midfield and you had Kulusevski, say, on the right wing, I wouldn't mind. Because I can understand that Kulusevski comes in and he does his thing and, 1-2. But when you have a team like that where Maddison wasn't playing and Berval, which, of course, we all know that the reason why was because he wanted to win this tie against AZ. So the AZ the AZ win was, I'm going to play my best players. I'm going to play these guys. And I think we have enough to... I honestly believe that he probably looked at it and thought at worst he could get a draw against Bournemouth. And here's the interesting thing. I've been on the fence of Ange out, but not Ange out like he should be sacked immediately. But I think at the end of the season, I still have that feeling that Daniel Levy has already started making plans. I think so. I don't know how true that is, but I just think, but to show you how much he respects Ange, he's not going to sack him. He's going to wait till the end of the year. That's what I think. I still think that's a possibility because I think this Tottenham squad is very gifted. I think the individuals are very good. And part of the reason we know how good they are is because of Ange himself, which is another thing. I think Ange has changed their mindset and their mentality. I mean, you and I we're talking, we're more or less like applauding that third goal, where Spurs from back to front, James Maddison opens up. All these things are possible. I think the structure is not as good as it should be. I think Tottenham with the better attacking structure, with those same players, can do better. That's just my opinion. But at the same time, you have to be aware of the injury crisis and players coming back from injury. There are certain things Romero was attempting in the game against Bournemouth that he actually pulled off in the game against AZ because he was rusty. He tried to do like certain types of crossfield passes and he just didn't come off. And I looked at it and said, because he doesn't know how to use the strength of his leg the way. But by the game against AZ, there was a tackle he did. Wonderful tackle, the ball running free, and he just slides and he timed it. I was like, this is him. Then his former friend, who is still his friend, Troy Parrott, went down and he came and screamed at him. All these things are them getting back their
The mojo.
Someone said there's a, yeah, your mojo. Someone says the feel. You have to get back the feel. You play golf. If you don't play golf for a long time, it's hard to get back into the rhythm you had before. So they're getting their feels back. So I can understand that to an extent. And yeah, a lot of things you said
Memory.
actually made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't. You have to. Odegaard, no surprise. This is what 3-4 games in now. All of a sudden, you saw him making runs. You saw him making moves. So yes, in that sense, Ange Postecoglou has been incredibly. He has. Well, I would say when I say incredibly, he's been let down by injuries. But these are things outside of his control.
People, right?
Yeah, it's outside of his control. Danso as well came down with a muscle injury. They think it's hamstring. They're not sure. Is it his fault? No, it's not his fault. These things happen in football. But if he gets, if
Sport is his training methods.
you know, but like I was seriously like I had Bournemouth game. The reason the frustration was that lineup, and for me the frustration was the lineup. And then when we went 2-0 down, I said, of course it is because his game, to me, I felt he betrayed his own philosophy because his philosophy is I attack you. You can come for me, but I'm attacking you. But I couldn't see any attack because Berval or Maddison went there. And as soon as those two dudes came on, especially Berval came on, you saw the difference. Once you have two guys running, one guy creating, it's better than having three workers. And that's how I looked at
But there was a reason,
Betancourt.
of course, like you said, it was obviously looking ahead to the AZ Alkmaar
Yeah,
match.
I was looking at the AZ game. And that,
And
yeah,
this is
go
what
ahead.
they call, I mean, use of your squad as best as possible, So, and that's how you chose to use them at the point. Okay, fine.
Yeah.
We may not have started down well with I mean, folks like yourself, and maybe some other fans as well. But I think in the end, it proved effective. Probably up to a point, we didn't quite do the win, but at least we didn't lose, which was.
Which is actually the criticism. So I actually said to someone on one of the groups, I don't know if it's Spurs group around or another one. I said the real thing actually has been the fact that we haven't drawn as many games as we should have. If we had drawn games, we would be higher up in the table. The problem has been we've lost by the odd goal, which once again comes from not from the structure or the fragility of the structure, but from individual mistakes, turnovers, unforced errors. So if you look at it, if Spurs, so actually drawing against Bournemouth, as much as people say, oh, that's a horrible result because, there's this whole thing, like you said, the divine right of kings to win, where it's like, we should be beating Bournemouth. I'm like, have you seen Bournemouth this
We
season?
haven't been in that great form. They've been in great form this season.
Actually, the question should have been Bournemouth should be beating us.
Absolutely, exactly.
Because Bournemouth they are feeling it, they're on fire, they don't have Europe, they haven't had someone said, oh, they had injuries. I say yes, but it's different when you're playing one game a week and have injuries as opposed to playing two, you know. And as much as you try to rotate, players are going to run themselves to the ground because you're trying to press, like you said. in the AZ game, the first goal came from the press. We haven't pressed like that in a long time. We haven't gone all out press the way we used to in the first season, this season, because you're trying to say, hey, minimize what you're doing and all that. But it's
underestimate
yeah,
Sri Lanka's availability because he's such
yes,
a good presser of the ball.
good presser.
He knows where to stand, where to stay, where to position himself, and it's always almost as if the ball always comes to him because he knows what to do. Anyway, listen, as first time in the corner, what do you think? That's the key question.
I think they have. I think we should just enjoy the rest of the season. As much as you can complain. I'll probably complain about the selection and things like that. But I think we should enjoy the rest of the season because I think those players are out. They're also out to restore their reputation. Some of them have been, universally slammed by people. Maddison has been slammed by people. Odo Bear is a waste of £25 million, even though the boy hasn't played football. Sholanke, how okay. Yeah, and with Sholanke, what a waste of money for 60 million. And but he's been a rock for us. He's pressed, he's done all these things that we want him to do. But the worst candidate for all the anger and furore of the Spurs fans has been Heung-min Son. And what a wonderful servant Sonny has been. Sonny has frustrated people to the point where they are like, saying they should get rid of him. They should not realizing that here's a player who has sacrificed, in my opinion, sacrificed his career for Spurs. That guy could have played for any team in the world. Everybody knows that. And that would probably be the thing on the stone that they use to hold him down is you could have left Spurs, you could have won so many titles and trophies, you're such a great player. But for whatever reason, he stayed at Spurs. I don't know why, but my goodness, I respect him and I love the guy for that. I love the guy for the choice of not wanting to leave a quote unquote underdog team in terms of the elites, where the underdog elite team, if I can say so. And I think he should be rewarded with something, and I think he will be rewarded with something. And I don't know how, I don't know when, but he will be, because now you're looking at his brother in arms, Harry Kane. Harry Kane is doing things in Germany that they are raving about, and we're like, we told you guys this for 5, 6, 7. We told you for a decade. We've been shouting that he's been doing this. In Germany, they can't. Oh my God, he creates so many goals. He scores. He's the perfect nine. I said, we told you. But because he played for Tottenham Hotspur, you guys felt, it was the same thing with Son as well. Son is a great player. Is he world class? Son is world class. But he plays for Tottenham that haven't yet crossed that thing. But let's wait and see. But I think, like I said, end of the season, we're just enjoying it. The league, we can probably crack top 10 if we go on a run. We can crack into the top 10. But Europa League as well, if things favor us the way they do, if we have no fear, we can go as far as we can go in that tournament.
Yeah, and that's the hope, guys. Let's hear from you at home. What you think? You think Spurs can win the Europa League this season? Or do you think we can make top 10 or even top 6? I mean, that'll be a bit of a stretch. But hey, listen, anything can happen. But like I said, it will be nice to hear from you guys what your thoughts are. It's been great being here, and come on, you Spurs!
Come on, you Spurs!